Hey guys, what's up? Welcome everybody back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are doing well, and today we're going to be looking at the top 15 best weapons to use in PUBG right now. Over the past few months, we've received a lot of balancing changes to the weapon selection in this game, and the meta has been shifted very dramatically. Some of the guns that used to be top dogs in the game have been lowered, and some ones have also made a pretty huge comeback. So whether you've just been out of the game for a while and you haven't played, and you want to know what guns to use, we've got you covered in this video, or maybe you have been playing regularly, but you want to sort of spice up your weapon selection. We're going to cover all that today. If you guys enjoyed the video and want to see more of this, please show me by dropping a thumbs up. That would be incredible. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel. Also, we're getting really close to 300,000, so thank you all for that. But real quick, I know how to make your day instantly better. You guys can log into your PUBG account, which I'm going to have linked down below in the description. You can find my name on the Creator Appreciation Program, enter that in, and I'm going to be doing some very exclusive channel perks for people who are supporting in this way. It's super easy to do. It's completely free, and a bunch of people on the channel have already done it, so thank you guys so much for that. And if you do end up using my supporter code, definitely let me know in the comment section so I can give you a thank you. I've got some exclusive perks for people who support the channel in this way, and so be on the lookout for that. But anyways, guys, let's get into this. So coming in today at our number 15 spot is going to be the SLR. This is a weapon I've been seeing significantly more recently, and has gotten to the point where it's almost entirely phased out the SKS. And as far as I've been able to tell, most players agree that the SLR is just the superior weapon. It's a bit easier to handle, it does higher damage, and there's no really reason not to run it. However, some people still do swear by the SKS with a thumb grip, as this allows you to aim down the sights much quicker. I guess if that's your thing is ADS speed, then you can consider running it, as the SLR doesn't have any grip options. But just as a whole, and when it comes to base weapons, the SLR is going to be probably your first choice for DMRs, and it's an absolutely amazing pick. Taking our number 14 spot is going to be the Vector, an absolute classic in PUBG, and it's also pretty much going to be your ace in the hole when it comes to up-close gunfights and close quarters combat. This is one of the few weapons in the game that can really challenge a shotgun at its own effective range and sometimes still win. Of course, it's not going to be incredibly effective at longer ranges, and especially being able to shoot from or into cars, it's not really the best at that, but it is definitely worth keeping your hands on, especially in the early game. The Vector is still best played with a vertical grip. After all this time and all these patches, you can play a half grip or a light grip as well. Angled and thumb grip do not fit on this weapon, nor do I think they would be entirely useful, but I'm always going to recommend you play with a vert. The half grip should be your second choice if you're going to be firing in small bursts of about 5 to 6 bullets at a time. But other than that, absolute beast of a weapon, and it's got to come in at number 14. Taking our number 13 spot is going to be the M16. Now, while this gun has received its fair share of buffs, all of the other 5.56 counterparts to it have also been simultaneously nerfed, making this a lot more of a standout weapon. Over the past few months, the damage on basically all the 5.56 ARs has been nerfed, except the M16, and I believe this is still the only ground spawn 5.56 AR that can one-shot no helmet. Recently, it's had its recoil reduced and also the ability to put a stock on this, which helps dramatically, and it's become a lot more like the original M16 if you played PUBG a long time ago. And when you've put many hours into this weapon, there's a certain sweet spot that you can develop a muscle memory for in between clicking with burst fire, so there's essentially no delay in between bursts, pretty much making it a full auto weapon, and it is a legit competitor to the M4 now, and in some cases is even better. Would highly recommend the M16 now in PUBG's current meta, and is an absolutely incredible weapon at the minute. But moving on and coming in at our number 12 spot, this is going to have to be the M249, an absolute beast of an LMG that is pretty much now just a shell of its former self. Now, this gun got significantly reworked over the past few months to a point where it's no longer in airdrops, it can take extended mags for ARs, and it does not nearly as much damage as it used to. They dropped the base damage from 45 down to 40, and they increased the recoil that it has, so it's no longer the absolute beast of a weapon that it used to be. However, after playing some time with it, it is still viable if you know what you're doing, and it can still be the answer you need, especially in squads games. You're going to be taking multiple fights at once. This is essentially where it shines, but it's no longer just the carry god that it used to be back in the day. And I think with the MG3 LMG coming to the game soon, this is meant to be basically the 5.56 counterpart to that, so it would make sense to either have them both on the ground or just one in crates and then one on the ground, so I believe that is what they're setting up for. But moving on here, and coming in today at the number 11 spot, it's going to have to be the M24. Now, this sniper is yet another former crate weapon, just like the previous gun. However, the difference is this has been out of crates for much longer than the M249, but it's still in a good place, I think, as far as sniper rifle balance. Now, while it does less damage than the Carnage 8 per bullet, the velocity, of course, course, and then the way that you're going to have to lead shots is a lot easier with this weapon, and there is some debate about which is better at the minute, which I think is good. However, what I believe is most important besides damage here is going to be your muscle memory. Some people are just better at shooting the Kar98, which I would include myself in that camp, and then some people are just better at the M24. Because the weapons are so similar in their damage profile and everything with very minor differences, and when it comes to gunfights with people with, I don't know, level 1 and level 2 gear, it's not going to matter too much, so it really comes down to preference. But the M24 is still an absolutely phenomenal weapon despite all of its nerfs, and I think still remains very relevant in the PUBG meta currently. Moving on, and coming in today at our number 10 spot, we have the Mini 14. This is easily one of, if not the best ground DMR in the entire game in my opinion, and this is due to a couple of reasons. Its bullet velocity still remains basically the highest in the game, only even slightly rivaled by the AWM. This is also a weapon that improves dramatically with a compensator, and these two things in combination allow you to put out insane amounts of damage even at a long range very consistently. And that's the thing about the Mini 14, is in the right hands this can be super dangerous because it's so consistent. While I love the SLR and had to include it on this list, I think the Mini 14 still beats it out in terms of how reliable it is. Of course, it doesn't do the most damage in the world, and you're not going to be 1 or 2 tapping people all across the entire range of the map, but if you can land those shots, which you can fast fire this thing like it's nobody's business, it is unbelievably dangerous. It's a gun I could not recommend high enough to practice thoroughly. But coming in at our number 9 spot, we have the Kar98K, and this is probably going to be my favorite ground spawn bolt action rifle, and there's a few reasons for that. I actually think the M24 might be a little bit better in squad game modes, as it can run an extended mag. The bullets that you're going to want to put out, you probably just want to be, landing shots instead of just getting the kill confirm, but the Kar98 I think is going to be best played in solos and duos. It's also a weapon that benefits greatly from a cheek pad if you're not in a habit of holding your breath every time you're about to shoot a bolt action rifle, and if you're not, I would recommend, practice that. But this is a good weapon for new players to try, and especially running that cheek pad will help you study out your shots a lot. And also being able just to develop a muscle memory with it is super important. That's where I feel like I've been able to have success with the Kar98, but definitely put some practice into this weapon as it will benefit you a lot. Moving on, and coming in at number 8, we have the MK47 Mutant. Now, the last time we ranked guns, I probably put this as genuinely one of the worst weapons in the game, and at the time it pretty much was, but this has underwent so many changes as of recently that it's almost become an entirely brand new weapon. The biggest thing here was shredding its recoil down and giving it a lot more weapon attachment slots as well. This gun has become so unbelievably dangerous, it's not even a joke anymore, and it plays really well with all kinds of grips as well. I personally recommend the vertical or the light grip, and especially if you're going to be single tapping or burst firing, the half grip works as well. It's arguably easier to fast fire than even the M16, and the damage per bullet is going to be much higher than that weapon as well. So it's just a DPS machine. It is so much fun to play. The weapon sounds super satisfying, and I just have a much better chance of picking this up than I ever used to in the past, and I really enjoy it. Moving on though, coming in at our number 7 spot might surprise you a little bit. This is going to be the M416. It does feel really weird not putting this weapon absolutely top tier. Like, while it's still pretty high on the list, it's not the weapon it used to be. In the most recent patch, the M416 has had its damage dropped from 41 to 40, and it's also had its bullet velocity nerfed as well. Now, by no means is this a bad weapon. It is still completely viable in the game. It's useful, and it's actually still pretty dang good. But after the most recent nerfs, it's no longer the all-purpose tool that it used to be. It was pretty good at long range. It could do close range and medium range with no problems whatsoever. So they wanted to reduce that a little bit, making some other, room for weapons in the meta. But the M416 now pretty much does the lowest damage out of any of the 5.56 ARs, and the bullets travel the slowest as well. So it's something that's, again, still useful, but not the just absolute machine it used to be. Coming in today at the number 6 spot, we have the MP5, which is basically the damage of the Vector and the absolute DPS that puts out with the consistency of like an AR. Unfortunately, it doesn't do as much just sheer DPS as the Vector does at a very close range, but the MP5 is just more practical in virtually every scenario. You can customize it just as much as the Vector, if not more, because of grip attachment options, but currently it only appears on Vikendi and Karakin, but it is so dangerous in both of these maps, and I don't recommend you pass up on these at all. Even better than some crate weapons to some degree. And it's worth mentioning that the MP5 doesn't necessarily need to have an extended mag to be a bit more effective, similar like the Vector does. It can be fine just on its own, and especially in the early game, it really doesn't matter too much, but the extended mag benefits it a lot as well. Coming today at the number 5 spot is going to be the AUG. Now, with the dethroning of the M416, the AUG has become significantly more of a viable option now. Its damage has not been nerfed in the same way the M4 has, and the bullet velocity is also going to be a lot higher than the M4 now, so there is a distinct difference between the two, and I still recommend the AUG over the M4 any day of the week. The AUG only has one downside, and that is weapon stability. A lot of people report that it has like pretty difficult to control horizontal recoil, and after doing some tests with grips, I found that the vertical is still going to be your best option. You would think the angled grip would help because that cuts down on horizontal recoil, but it actually makes it a little bit worse. I don't think it's a recoil issue. I think it's more or less weapon stability, and so if running a either light grip or a vertical grip on the AUG is going to help you out a lot, but it is a lot better of a weapon than it used to be despite all of the changes. Moving on though, coming in today at our number 4 spot, this weapon should be no surprise to you whatsoever. This is going to be the AWM. Still remains as the uncontested king in the sniper rifle category. Now, I'm hoping that at some point in 2020, we get another sniper rifle added to the mix that's actually maybe just as dangerous as the AWM, but still this remains pretty much the only one of the only weapons in the game that's not received any nerfs over time. This gun used to be a beast back in the day, and nothing's changed, honestly. It's still crazy because it still feels satisfying to pull this in drops every single time. One of the most fun weapons to play in the entire game, and still one of the scariest weapons to go up against in the battlefield as well. But moving on and getting into our top 3 here, coming in at the number 3 spot is going to surprise you a little bit, but this is going to be the Barrel M762. Similarly to the Mutant, this weapon has received a set of buffs that just completely fundamentally changed the weapon, and this has almost become the new M4 in a lot of ways. The recoil has been shredded down where it's super easy to handle now. The bullet velocity has been increased, so you don't have to lead quite as much. I think words don't even do the changes a justice. If you haven't played with the Barrel recently, definitely consider picking it up, as it will fundamentally change how you play the game. This has pretty much become the new M416 for all intents and purposes. At the end of the day, it's not quite as easy to use as the M4 still, where that's just going to provide you with less recoil. It's an easier to handle weapon, but if you know what you're doing, or if you've been playing PUBG for a while, this is going to give you way more success than the M4 ever will in this current meta. But moving on and coming in just above that, it's a really close call, but it's going to have to be the Groza. Now, these guns have been equalized out pretty recently. The Barrel is almost what the Groza is now, and the weapons are almost one and the same, but still, at the end of the day, the Groza has a 1-up on the Barrel. You need a lot more attachments on the Barrel to get it to be even remotely as steady as the Groza is just normally, and it's still going to put out a little bit more damage per second, better than the Barrel too. This is still going to remain one of the greatest guns in the game in a skilled hand. Again, this is probably not a weapon that I recommend to most beginner players or people that are getting used to the game. It's sort of an off-putting weapon, to be honest, and it's kind of jarring if you shoot this weapon and you're not really used to it. Again, assuming you know what you're doing, it is an absolutely phenomenal gun. But finally, coming in today at the number 1 spot, you may have guessed exactly what it is, and if you did, you're right, the Mark 14. This is still, without a doubt, no questions in my mind, the best gun in PUBG still, and this should really be no surprise, but what I've noticed recently is that it's not the fact that it just does one thing extraordinarily well, although it does those things, you know, pretty well, what it's capable of, but it's literally capable of everything you need it to be. It's essentially what the M416 used to be and why it was so attractive, but it takes those and stretches it to the upper limits. Being completely godly at long ranges and just being devastating at close ranges with, you know, compensator full auto sprays, it's an unreal weapon to use. But it has to absolutely, without a doubt, be the number 1 spot on this list. But anyways, guys, those are going to be the top 15 best weapons in PUBG right now in 2020 in this current meta that we're playing on. Let me know what you thought about my ranking down below in the comment section. If there's any guns I missed that you would have included on this list, let me know down below. And also, if you guys did enjoy the video today, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and also I stream every single day over on Twitch. The link to that will also be down below if you want to go check it out. I'll see you over there. But thank you guys so much for watching once again. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next stream or the next video. Have a good one, and peace out.